Oh, that song every time gets me pumped up for the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to 8 Bits. You may notice a different co-host with me today. Welcome to the show, Christopher Harrison.
Well,
Yay!
thank you. Thank you for having me here. Yeah, I'm not quite Brandon, but I will do my absolute best Brandon impression.
Well, apparently last week, PJ was a stand-in for me while I was out on vacation, and he wore an orange wig. We should have got you like a Brandon hat, a Brandon wig, Brandon glasses. No cosplay today. It is Wednesday, y'all. Oh, there, Brandon. It's Wednesday, friends, which means it's time for 8 Bits, my favorite show to do every week. Christopher, how have you been? You are a previous guest of the show, of course. You came on in our early days. What have you been up
to? Living the dream, or some reasonable facsimile thereof, I guess. I've been streaming a fair bit. In fact, if you're bored in a couple of hours at 3 o'clock Pacific, he said in a shameless plug, I'll be doing Web Wednesday. We've got Aaron Powell on this week to chat about React and TypeScript, so that should be a lot of fun. And then otherwise, just trying to do my best, stay healthy, run a fair bit, and yeah.
How has streaming been? I mean, I have been loving doing technical content while streaming because it doesn't even feel like pair programming. It feels like world programming where like I can get through problems a lot faster.
Yeah, that's, whenever you're doing like live code on a stream, there's no shortage of people that are then, there with possible answers and so forth. So it definitely can be a lot of fun. It's a great way to like stay connected with people, especially in this time when we're not really connected with people. So it's quite nice in that regard, I think.
Yeah, I have been making these very silly bots with my friend and mentee and newly employed friend PJ. We'll have to have him back on the show to give us a job update. But we've been making some Azure Functions, Shania Twain bots, Britney Spears bots, Mariah Carey bots. And I'll tell you, we would have been lost without the help of the audience because it had been a while since I had touched regex. PJ had never used regex before. Even helping teach some very basic concepts of Git, where like it was super helpful to just have people all around the world who knew shortcuts and expertise and knew how to best deal with that. So shout out to all the people, not only the streamers, but the people who are helping with the streams. Uh-oh. I may be
Yeah,
frozen. We'll figure
you
this
you
out.
you are frozen. You're like in a perfect pose though. So
It's great.
yeah.
Oh, now you're frozen for me too. Okay, well, I may need to leave and come back in just a second.
Okay.
I think my MacBook fan is going to take off and take my computer to another place. So I'll be right back, friends. Let me grab a different computer.
Okay. Do you want to bring Ro on?
Let's see if my whole computer is frozen. So we will see if it's possible. There she is. Okay, I've
Okay.
unfrozen. Ro!
And you're on Frozen too.
We were all frozen. This is
Oh.
Frozen 2 here. This is wild.
Oh, weird.
Okay, wait, we're going to remove you real quick
Okay,
and
bye.
then bring you back in because we're going to do a special intro. Okay, pretend that never happened.
Okay.
This is the beauty of technology,
What
right?
happened? Nothing
I don't
happened.
know. I think
Yeah.
my computer just decided not today. Too many tabs open, probably. Y'all, I am so excited for our guest today. Of course, if you've never tuned into the show before, this is a show where we have people from all kinds of walks of life in technology come onto the show and share their stories and paths to tech, their interests. And this is a human being that I am truly obsessed with because all of their projects are so cute and funny and wonderful. I say this as I try to bring up this tab here. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see if this breaks my computer. I'm a huge fan of any sort of puns, Christopher, as I know you are as well, especially technical and engineering puns.
Yes, I do have a tendency to tell dad jokes, even though we're child free, which
Yes.
makes me a faux pas.
Oh my gosh. That was good. That was
Thank
good. We love
Thank
it. I was looking at these cute designs that our guest made today, working on a branch. Oh my gosh, I just got that joke. I had looked at this image previously and I just got it. This adorable Pikachu, and of course, snack break. This is making me hungry for some Pocky right now. But check out roadthecoder.myshopify.com for this really cute merch. I can't wait to put these stickers on my new bullet journal I will inevitably buy. So welcome to the show again, Ro. Yay!
How's everyone doing?
You know, other than my computer deciding to take sick day right in the middle of the stream, doing pretty good. How about you, Ro?
I am good. I am very excited to officially launch this merch set that I was working on, as well
Yes.
as to be here. So thank you
So-
very much.
Tell us about these adorable designs. What was the story behind making this very, very cute shop?
Well, the thing is, we were briefly talking about ADHD, and that's something that I have. And my brain just does not stop thinking, and
Same.
constantly. So
Yes.
I'll be in the middle of drawing something, and my brain will go, and I'll have an idea, and then and another one. It just keeps on popping up. So for the snack break one, I was actually like, I'm gonna take a snack break. I sat down with my pocket. I went, oh, and I was like, I'm gonna draw this. I'm gonna draw this. It's gonna be cute, and I'm gonna love it. And then I did. That's
And it
exactly what I
is.
envisioned.
And I'm like, take my money. I'm the same way. I think I have a doc, as I'm sure Christopher does as well, of just like puns and ideas of things that I eventually either want to tweet or make merch of, or
Yeah.
like there's so many. One of my favorites is The More You Knowed, which shout out
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Sis
yeah.
Bluish for making that one. My boyfriend loves to joke that I joined tech for the dad jokes, which I'm fine
Yeah.
with that. I'm fine with being associated with that.
I want that title too.
But Ro, we've got a little ahead of ourselves. People are probably like, who is this person? What brings her to the show? Tell us a little bit about yourself. We're of course going to dive into your whole, as we like to say on this show, Marvel origin story of how you got into tech and all of that. But tell the lovely folks at home who you are, what you do.
So my name is Ro. I am a front-end developer, and Goodbye. Oh, hello.
Y'all, usually Brandon Minnick does all of the scene changes and designs for this, so please bear with me while I figure all this out. Here we go.
There we go.
So for the people listening on the podcast, we were all moving around on different screens, and now I am the big screen. So just
Yes,
so you know why.
we're lost without Brandon. Of course, famously, podcasts are a visual medium, and just know that Chloe is not that great at using StreamYard. Continue.
um, well, yeah. So I front-end developer, and I graduated from Juneau College of Technology back in July, August. During that time, I was, having a lot of fun growing and learning as a developer and using that creative side to make different projects, like Chloe's favorite game, Battle of the Babies.
Yes.
And, really like unlocking this world of art and code and putting that together, which is something I did not expect to happen. It just kind of did, and I'm really happy that it has. And right now, what I'm doing is I've just been designing some art things, and I've been working on small projects, like a little tiny one with a friend. We're working with a little API. We're trying to create like a simple like map application. All it does is you put in your info like on a little quiz, and then we will get like kind of hone in on the results of a location somewhere. So like, let's say it's Toronto. And then if you select that one as your choice, because you'll have multiple choices, if you select that one as your choice, a map will open using the Mapbox API and will give you choices of things to do in the area. So that's what we're aiming for. So far, all we have is a list that renders different things that you put. That's it. That's all we have. But otherwise, it's been fun.
It's got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know about you, Christopher, but something that I really so Ro was on another show that I do called, oh my gosh, I'm like, which show is this? Adopt a Dev, where we have folks come on who are job searching and are developers. And Ro was a gal after my own heart, because I was the girl in my boot camp doing all the projects, and it would be something like use CSS to make an image bigger, and everyone was using stock photos, and I had like the sloth dressed up as a pope or something. Like everything that I did had a sense of humor to it or something silly. I think I made a fake Facebook page account to test out an app I was building during Hackbright that I called Sloth Orphanage Survivors, and would put all my test tweets through it or my test Facebook posts to make sure it worked. And people started subscribing to it, which was very funny. But Ro mentioned this lovely app called Battle of the Babies, which she shared on this show. And there is sound, y'all, that I won't play because it's incredibly cute and too distracting. But once I saw this, I was like, okay, yes. So basically you select your fighter. So I've selected Baby Yoda, of course. And I then can fight against these babies in a Street Fighter type capacity. And you can't hear the noises, but there's the sounds of babies giggling and crying. So what I love about these projects that you have, Ro, and y'all we'll drop a link to Ro's portfolio here in a second, is just how playful and fun they are. Tell me a little bit about this project, because I am so obsessed with it while I play a little bit of it.
Yeah, play all you want.
You talk while I play in the background.
Yeah.
So we won't have Chloe for the rest of the show.
Well, basically, like I remember at the time, like this would have been, I think, in June or July that I made this app. We were learning jQuery, so this is like a jQuery JavaScript app, and I just thought, okay, coding, what can I do? And I like video games, so I was like, I want to make a little arcade video game. So I was like, I'm gonna do this, and I basically started to think of things. And originally, I was supposed to have 6 fighters, and it was supposed to be all like choose your fighter, and you very arcade, like Tekken 8-bit style. Oh, 8 bits. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, perfect segue.
And then I presented it to my instructor, the MVP, and he just suggested that I try to tone it down. He's like, start with 3. And I was like, okay, because then I could do a little bit of rock, paper, scissors, and that'll make it easier, because that's essentially what this is. It's like an if-else statement that kind of evaluates who beats who. And I didn't make it so that it's obvious for you to know who beats who, because then it makes it less fun. Like, you just kind of play and see what happens.
Sure.
So, yeah, I chose Baby Yoda and Baby Groot because I think in January, like for New Year's, my partner and I were doing we were doing coat check at a restaurant just because we're like, why not make an extra buck on New Year's? What else are we gonna do? And he, as I mentioned, he's an artist, and I was like, what should we make for our tip jar? And so we're like, let's do a Baby Yoda versus Baby Groot thing, and then people would tip who they want to win. And
Perfect.
yeah, I think
That's
like
smart.
I got really mad at people, no offense, who voted Groot, because I'm a big Baby Yoda fan.
Oh,
And
wow. Okay, that's some merch that I need. I do not have the water bottle yet.
my best friend got it for me, and I was like, I started screaming, and she was like, okay, stop, it's okay. But yeah, so from there, I was thinking about that. I'm like, okay, those are two babies that I want to fight, and I also love SpongeBob. So I was like, if I'm gonna have any babies fight, it's gonna be these three babies. And then from there, I got assistance, obviously, because we had just learned it. There's no way I could build this from my own brain without getting assistance. So we would get help from the teachers. They'd help me learn and grow. And then I actually was able to update it with those animations and the things that you saw with Daniel from Adopt a Dev. He had me come in and do a live stream with him.
I love this comment from Sarah Goethals. Those are two babies that I want to fight is my favorite thing I've ever heard on a live stream. LOL. I agree. I think that's my favorite quote from the show, and it's not even halfway over.
I say some pretty interesting things, so y'all are in for a ride. But appropriately, though. Nothing crazy, but yeah.
I feel like that's a perfect life quote. I say some interesting things.
That should be my next sticker.
I love that it started from a tip jar, because I've seen those tip jars before where, they'll be like, oh, are you team so-and-so? Or, oh gosh, I can't think of any. Pinky or Brain could be one. Or
there you go.
Dark side versus the light side. Am I saying it right?
Team Edward, team whatever the other
Jacob.
team is.
Jacob. I'm honestly sad that I know that.
There was even another app that also brought me a lot of joy, which is this adorable, also has music on the site here, a Pokedex. Yeah. And remind me, I type in the number of the Pokemon and then it'll pop up in here.
Yeah. So, I mean, even if I wasn't here, you could always click on the instructions. So like whoever lands, they could see the instructions, it'll pop up. It'll tell you what to do.
Read the instructions? I'm sorry, you lost me.
I don't read the instructions. You can press clear to reset your selection. You must input a number back when I was a youth, we only had 150 Pokemon. This is wild. 807. Okay, cannot start with 0. Let's see. What is a good number that I should put in here, Ro?
112. I don't know what will come up, though.
Enter. Right on. Okay, this is going to be very useful as I start playing Pokemon Snap on my Nintendo Switch again.
Oh yeah, and it's responsive, so you can take it to go with you anytime you want.
Amazing. And was this another boot camp project that you did?
Yeah, it was. This was my first paired programming project with my partner, Katie King. So basically, we got paired up, and we were thinking about so many different things we could do, and like. Her and I we're admittedly nerds, so we were like, okay, let's look at all the APIs that we could play with, and we were stuck between I think like Lord of the Rings and Pokemon, and I was like, let's do Pokemon. This is probably a little bit easier to do. Like we're gonna make a quiz, but I'm like, I really want to play around with my CSS art skills and see what I could really do. So this was like my first stab at CSS art. I did get a little bit of guidance from this other Pokédex app and learned how to create the CSS art, but theirs wasn't actually functional like mine, where you can actually get the information there.
Let us know in the chat if there's a Pokemon number you want us to put in, and I'll put it in.
But yeah, this was a really great project. I had so much fun with it, and being able to add the music and kind of bring it all together is just very delightful.
What I love about this is you, as we can see from your beautiful designs that you've made, that you're truly an artist who got into tech. And I am also an artist who got into tech, but I'm not very talented at the visual art thing. But I've always viewed coding a lot like crafting. Like it's kind of like digital crafting in a way. And I love that you have essentially just taken these pieces of your previous life, even a tip jar really, and put that into app form.
I know. It's really crazy how that happened because I was not expecting it whatsoever. But coding honestly kind of paved the way for me to really see that I am an artist because I didn't think I was for the longest time. And
interesting.
Yeah, like I actually have a sketchbook that I used to draw in because I think this would be 6 or 7 years ago. I was like at a really like low part in my life, and I wanted to find a creative outlet to kind of help with that. And I eventually found my way to art because it helped me kind of connect with the thing that I was struggling with. And as time went on, I realized I actually really liked drawing, and I just kept practicing. And then I started to draw cartoon characters, and like the scrapbook is filled with drawings of me and my partner as like Simpson style or Bob's Burgers style, or I think Adventure Time and Rick and Morty style. And they're so cute. I love them. I was like, wow, like I really got to stop this whole imposter syndrome thing. Like that's got to go away.
I'm wearing the wrong shirt today. I have a Little Prince parody shirt that says Le Petit Rick on it that I wore yesterday at work. That is so, I love when we have creative folks that come into tech because we just get some really fun, quirky, unique things that we wouldn't have otherwise had before. And are you finding that tech is kind of similar to like crafting and art to you, or do you not think of it as a creative space at all?
Oh my gosh, tech is so creative. I think that the two combined is what makes it so creative because like, I mean, I literally just sent this to you right now because I just remembered we were talking about Pokemon. I'm like, oh, right. I recently made a Digivice. Do you remember those like Digivice toys from Digimon?
Yes, like a Tamagotchi sort of?
Yeah. So if you click on, I don't know if you could see in the private chat, there's a link to my CodePen. And it's best to view it on desktop because it's not responsive.
Oh, here, I'll open it up and we can share it with the class. Here we go. Hopefully it won't break my computer.
I'm so sorry if it does.
Here we go. Add to stream. Oh, this is all CSS. Wow.
Yeah, this is all CSS. And I don't know if you can notice, but if you drag the top part there, you can make it larger, I believe. Yeah. So if you look closely, Agumon is actually moving up and down. It's very subtle, but that was like, I could have drawn that, but could I have made it move? No.
Right.
But coding made that happen. And so I made this little Digivice that combined my, skills of knowing CSS and like making these shapes come to life and then having Agumon actually move up and down. By the way, this took forever. It took all day to code each and every single pixel individually. It was
I was going to ask, this looks like a very, I don't even think I could draw this by hand, let alone make it move by hand.
This is 164 individual pixels.
Wow. Now, Ro, do you still have a link to your Clippy one that you made? Because I think we got to give the people what they want.
If you go to if you click on my username, I think it should take you to like my CodePens because that will be there.
Oh, there's some cute stuff on here.
You've got a Dario one.
I do.
Okay, we're now BFFs.
Here's Clippy. Okay, I got to take a screenshot and share this on the Twitter because this will get us some viewers, I think. We've got some hardcore Clippy fans who watch this show. These are beautiful. Is this something that you taught? I've not played at all with CSS art. And for the folks at home, for the folks listening to the podcast, you can check out codepen.io/roadthecoder, and we'll put in the show notes as well. But we're looking at these really beautiful, intricate Finn the Human, Daria, Clippy images made entirely with CSS. How does one do this? Tell me everything.
I mean, so like the first one I did was Finn the Human, and I was really excited about that because I was like, I basically did that on my own without asking anyone for help. Like I did look up a few things, but a lot of it is like knowing how to use like the border, how to use the border, how to use gradients,
Yeah.
how to use before and after selectors. Like that is really, really important, because then you don't have as many divs, because it will look like there's nothing there, but you have a shape before or after, and you can move that around. But yeah, like a lot of it has to do with just shapes and toying around and moving pixels around. And I really want to make more, but it's very time consuming. There's so many things I want to do, and yeah, I just
Ro, I see
You
a
know,
stream in our future where we make some sort of, maybe even the three of us. You show us how to do this, because I am so inspired by how detailed this is so detailed for CSS. Like I had no idea that this was even possible.
thank you.
I also want to give a shout out to I'll find a link to it, but Analytical, the drag queen, did a makeup palette recently using CSS. That was
Oh.
super. I'll see if I can bring it up on the show here, but. Have you ever done this, Christopher? I've never been able to make art like this.
no. And what I was going to say is what I love so much about this is also just like, it's a great example for everybody to see of like, hey, you can learn more technical stuff while still having fun. That, you know,
Yeah.
find something that you're passionate about and then build it. Like I never would have thought about it. Then as you were describing it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's such a great way to then learn CSS, because now
Yeah.
there's so much that you need to be able to put together
Yeah.
with all of that. And learning CSS selectors is such a tricky thing to do. So I love that you're doing that based around something that you love. It's fantastic.
Wait,
Here's
this is
the Naked Makeup Palette by Urban Decay that our queen Analytical made. Shout out to Analytical.
oh my
Um,
goodness.
and I believe they may have done a video or a TikTok on this, but I'll link this to folks as well so they can check it out. But I am just amazed by, especially I consider myself a creative person, like in the creative performing arts, but when it comes to drawing something, it's stick figures only for me. So I bow to you, Ro, that you're able to make this art, like this very detailed, beautiful CSS magic. I'm trying to think what we would, if we did a stream. I'm like, what do we do? Do we do SpongeBob? We got to figure out
I
what
think
character
Bob's
we make.
Burgers would be super easy. Bob's Burgers.
Oh yeah,
The thing with Bob's Burgers is like I view their shapes as very like butternut squash. Like they're very like lean at the top, and then they're all kind of like bulbous. Well, especially Bob.
that's true.
Linda, she's very like she has like this like bow at the top, like her hair kind of bows out and then curves at the bottom. So it's usually easier when their shapes are less curvy like this, but like I am trying to learn how to get better at that, which is why Clippy, like you see Clippy, like that was tricky because there are shapes there that's basically masking the Clippy's, like, you know,
Oh yeah.
yeah, like there's shapes that are kind of there to almost like hide that, and that's how it works. But there are definitely better ways to do it. Like I just have to learn it. But
It looks like you're trying to learn CSS. How can I help?
I should code that in.
Have you tried doing that with like SVG?
No,
Okay.
I've never tried, but do you think I should?
I have no idea. All I know is that some of the cool kids use SVG. I am in no way, shape, or form artsy. Like whatever that gene is, I lack it. My mother has it, but that did not get passed on to me. But like yeah, like because there's a lot that you can do with regards to drawing and so forth with SVG, and then you can also then combine that with CSS. So that might be a way to approach it, and especially like you're talking about some of the more bulbous characters. That
Yeah.
might be a better way to manage that, because then you can like start like drawing arcs inside of SVG so that you can identify the starting point, the end point, and then like kind of identify what the curve is supposed to be, and
Yeah.
and like where a straight is supposed to be, and things like that. So and that is the extent of what Christopher knows about SVG.
I'm just in awe because, Ro, you're so kind of early on in your
Yeah.
technical career and you're already able to create create stuff like this, I'm just so excited to see what you make going forward. Like, I'm
Thank
expecting
you.
full illustrated children's books online, a
I
whole Ro cinematic universe.
That would be awesome. We will see how that goes, but I've seen some people create like the Mona Lisa with CSS, and I'm like, how did you do that?
So we skipped over a big chunk of the how we got here part, which is all of the things that brought you to your coding boot camp, why you started to learn to code. Now, I did a little bit of sleuthing. I looked at your LinkedIn row, and you and I share something, which is that we both worked at the Disney store.
Oh yeah.
And I think it was both one of our very first early jobs. So I would love for you to paint the picture for us of how we got here today, how you discovered this love of programming and decided to go all in on it.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of like the Disney store, that was definitely like, that was my second job and my first retail job. And I'm sure Chloe can back me up here, but like you walk in and you are smiling from head to toe. You cannot stop smiling. You have to wish everyone a magical day, and you go home covered in glitter. Covered.
Very true.
Yeah. But I'll be honest, I was, even if I wasn't in a good mood that day, going there and being forced to smile kind of made me really happy by the time I left. Like, it really did work. I was like, okay, I mean, smiling makes you happy, I guess. And so from there, I worked so many jobs. And I don't know how much time we have because it is just a lot of jobs. But I essentially worked at Starbucks for a couple of years. And then I reached a point where I wanted to expand a little. So I went to a company and I did a web sales assistant, which I didn't really know what that was. And I'll be honest, I still don't know what that is because I had to eventually quit. It was a very interesting role, but it had nothing to do with web, if I could be totally honest. And after I became that, I became a bank teller at TD Bank in Toronto.
Wow.
And then from there, I realized it wasn't quite my passion to get yelled at by people over money. So I was like, okay, time to get a new job. And so I moved on to something I thought was my passion. I thought it was my calling, which was personal training. And I worked as a personal trainer for a couple months. But again, I noticed that there was something that wasn't quite right. And that was the industry felt like it was very much so focused on the selling. And I was focused on the helping, and I got penalized for focusing on the help part. And that's when I was like, I don't think this is for me because, it just doesn't feel right to turn somebody away because they can't afford it. It's like, I understand, obviously, the company and myself need money to keep doing this at the same time. If somebody is desperately in need and you're like, well, sorry, you don't have $10,000 to give me right now. It's like, that doesn't make sense. So not for me.
I worked in sales for a hot second at Yelp. It was my first tech job, was cold calling people, and this is pre-IPO, so no one knew what Yelp was and thought it was illegal that someone could make a website for them. But yeah, it's one of those things where you really have to have not only the mental strength, but even like the physical strength to have those conversations, those difficult conversations. And I think it's important early on in your career to figure out what you enjoy doing and what you don't enjoy doing. And I have found I don't like cold calling people.
No. I'm curious. So you've had that varied background. I'm curious, like what job or maybe like what lesson or lessons were you able to kind of pick up along the way that you've been able to apply to being a developer? Because obviously, I mean, well, not obviously, but I'm assuming that there must have been something along the way that you've picked up and have been able to apply to what you're doing now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, I think, for example, like the role that I had last before I got into dev was working at a restaurant. And I did multiple roles in the restaurant, but I eventually became the assistant manager. And that really taught me how to, manage my time, manage the things that I have to focus on, and kind of like taking things head on because my management experience was not simple. It was very complicated. we literally had a period of time where I think 8 people quit, and I had to learn how to hire people within like 2 weeks of being a manager.
Wow.
By myself. I was hiring people, onboarding them, training them, scheduling, everything. I did all this. And that's when I was like, you know what? If I can do this, I can literally do anything. It was brutal. Like, it was like to the point where we had a day where the Wi-Fi shut down, so we couldn't take payments on the POS. And we didn't have AC, and it was July, and the restaurant was like 40 plus degrees. And we got through that, and I was like, if I could get through that, I could get through anything.
I think I had some moments like that in my brief stint as a children's birthday party entertainer. I would find myself in these very bizarre situations with a kids cover your ears with a Minnie Mouse head over myself, sweating, making a balloon animal, doing face paint, going, you know what? Like, if I can do this, I can survive anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially because I worked food service as well for a few years, and it that pressure, it creates like this foxhole mentality that you really just wind up relying quite heavily on everybody else that's around you to sort of like get you through those tough days. And so I definitely hear you on the, you know, if you can do that, if you can survive that, you can then survive anything. And it does then help kind of when you get into now working with a team, that you do start to then learn how to depend on those around you and in those stressful moments.
Yeah, exactly. And also just learning how to quickly pick up something, like how to onboard people. That requires having to use a computer, go in there and figure it out. And I actually think the biggest thing, this is something I missed, the biggest thing I learned was my time at Starbucks. And that was like how to genuinely connect with people. And that was something I probably wouldn't have been as fluent in if I hadn't worked that job. And like, say what you want, whether you're a fan or not, if you have a great manager, like you pretty much feel invincible. Like my manager at first was not the greatest. I think I was 19 and I was super like angsty. I didn't want to work for him. He made me feel like bad. I would come into work like bundled up because it smells like crazy here. Bundled up like this, all you see is like a circle on my face. And he would start the day with, "Oh, is someone grumpy today?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just a 19-year-old kid who just walked into work and I'm cold." So
I would have been like, now I am.
well, that's how I felt. I would feel that way. I'd be like, well, now I'm grumpy. But then he ended up leaving, and we had this wonderful person come in, and she would like set up like, you know, like partner appreciation day. And we'd come into the office and there'd be like banners, and she'd give us props and like, you know, drinks and things, not alcohol, but like drinks and things like that to just kind of like cheer us all up. And like we would take like pictures with our props and stuff like that. And I started to feel happy coming into work, and I wanted to talk to the customers, and I wanted to listen to my manager. And I took from her example and I applied that to when I was the manager, because I never wanted my staff to feel the way my first manager made me feel. I wanted to feel the way that the second manager made me feel.
Yeah. I've never been a manager personally, but Ro, I would love to have you as my manager, because I think empathy and having fun and like having an enjoyable work environment, like you said, is just so conducive to better work. Like if I love thinking about, you know, like every reality show, they say, "I'm not here to make friends. I am here to make friends."
Yeah.
and that's why they call it a team, right? Everyone work together. We have a comment here from Nicole Martin. Lead by example. Love this. Couldn't agree more. Put out the energy that you want to get back.
Yeah.
100%.
And when did you first like start touching a computer and thinking of it in terms of code?
Okay, well, the first time I was playing around with it, I didn't really know what code was. So like I had a Tumblr account when I was 16, like most 16-year-olds have. And I was like, I want my layout to look the cutest. So I would see someone create a layout, and like you're supposed to like copy and paste this into the editor in Tumblr. And I would like copy all the HTML and CSS, not knowing what it was. I'd slap it in there, and then I'd be like, I like this color. So like I'd start scrolling through these lines of code, not knowing it was lines of code. And then I'd see like a hex color, and I'm like, that looks familiar, because I think I used to draw, like, I don't know if either of you remember, Facebook had a feature called graffiti.
Okay, this sounds a little familiar.
You could draw on your friends' walls or like their Facebook profiles. You could just draw stuff and send it to them, and that was called graffiti. And I used to just in grade 9 graffiti all the time, and I have all these pictures that I was drawing just using a mouse. And I didn't know that I could do that, but I was pretty impressed looking back. I'm like, wow, I actually didn't do a bad job. But
Sounds
anyway.
like Microsoft Paint for Facebook.
Yeah, actually, kind of. And I think from there, I learned what hex codes were because I would just see these little numbers and letters. And so when I was able to point that out in the actual code, I would just take a different hex code, plug it in, and then see the results. I'm like, I just did that. So I'd like play around and move pixels around. And then one day I just stopped because I was like, oh, okay, summer's over, time to go back to school. And I forgot about code. I didn't even know what it was, like I said. So I think it wasn't until 2018 that I wanted to try something new. As we know, I had that 1 year where I worked every job. And then again, I found my restaurant job and I was there for a while. And I was like, the money's good. I like my coworkers. I like the hours. They're great. But I don't feel quite passionate about this. Even though I'm good at this, I don't want to stay here. And my partner was like, why don't you look into code? And I was like, why? And he's like, I don't know. Maybe you'd enjoy it. So okay. So I looked at a couple places that were available in Toronto, and I saw the school, and I went to go check it out. And when I arrived, I loved the vibes. I loved that people were sitting and not running around like crazy at a restaurant. I was like, oh, I could do that. I could sit for my job. That'd be great. And so finally, they tell me, well, okay, this is great and all, but the fee is like $10,000 to $12,000 up front. And I was like, okay, I guess that's not happening. But I left there feeling kind of like discouraged, but I thought about it and kept thinking about it and was like, I think this is something I could still try. And my partner's like, a lot of people self-teach, so you could try that. And the first language I tried to learn, as recommended to me by a quiz from Codecademy, was Python.
Okay.
And
I was a Python JavaScript gal myself when I first started.
well, the thing is, as someone who barely understood what HTML and CSS was, that was a huge shock. And my friend who went to school for engineering is one of those people who is so smart they don't have to study for their testing, gets like 90s, was trying to teach me. And as you both probably understand, most ADHD brains have a certain way of studying and learning and grasping things. And so for me, I got kind of scared away from coding a little bit because I was like, whoa, if this is coding, not for me. But I was introduced to someone by a colleague of mine, and this person is a developer. And I met up with this person, and they went to the school that I ended up going to. They kept checking in on me. They kept making sure that I was still on the path and wasn't falling off, even though I was. But every time they checked in, they were like, get back in there. And I was like, okay. So one day they found an intro to web dev course from my school. And it basically just goes over HTML, CSS, responsive design, and accessibility. And they told me, like, try it out. And if you love it, then you know that you should probably stay in this industry. And if you don't, then at least you tried. And hopefully you take some skill from this. And I was like, okay. So I tried it. And like day one, I just loved being there. And it was an amazing experience. And that point on, I went to boot camp. And then that's it. That's how I got here.
Now, it's interesting because I'm very similar. I too have ADHD, and I really need structure. Like our dear pal PJ, who has been on the show before, he's self-taught. He can do it all on his own. I needed accountability. Yeah. I'm an obliger, so I will not get work done unless it's for myself. I won't get any work done. For anyone else, I will get it done. So yeah. I needed that structure of other people going through the same course at the same time. We've got some great comments in the chat here that say things like ADHD and learning from reading books is out of the question in my experience. Was that the same case for you when you were kind of learning? You really needed that group incentive and environment, because it sounds like you had this friend who's checking in with you. Like that external accountability seems to be very helpful for neurodiverse folks, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, definitely like trying to learn on my own was tricky, but once I got my footing and once I entered my school really and like had that backup and had a teacher, everything seemed to pick up and click, and everyone around me started noticing how passionate I was. They're like, I've never seen you this passionate about anything before. And like that's how I knew this was it. So, I'm really hoping that I can eventually break through into this industry, because like I know I want to be here and I want to keep going. And sometimes it's tough, but that's just life. And I think that giving up early is not an option, even though it feels like it sometimes. It's not. It's not.
Yeah. We should also say Ro is job searching. So anybody out
Yeah.
there who wants to hire, think of all the CSS art you could have.
Think of
at your
all the
fingertips.
puns I'll give you, like
All
puns.
the puns. We have a shout out to Donna here in the chat, Donna Starkar. She's a great role model to follow. I totally agree there. I am just looking. I'm tweeting out this image. I'm sure we'll get a bunch of viewers in a second of the Clippy and Daria stuff here. What are you looking for in your first, engineering technical role? Like, what is your dream job that you see yourself doing in the industry?
I'll be totally blunt. And this is something I've been trying to figure out since I took step one. I'm still trying to figure it out. But the thing is, I'm very open-minded. Thank you.
We don't know what we want to do either.
Yeah. Okay. That's the thing. Like people keep asking me that question, and I keep thinking and like, the thing is, so far I'm enjoying playing around with React. So I know that I have no idea. Yeah. I've been enjoying playing around with React. And obviously, like HTML and CSS, that's always like, that's always fun. It came very easily once I finished that intro course and then did it again. So that is always something that I enjoy doing. And same with JavaScript, just understanding that and keep working on it. But in terms of like, where do I want to go? Like, I can't tell you like a perfect title, because it's so hard to pick just one thing when there's so many different titles out there. And so many different ways to learn. It's just crazy.
For me, that's been the beauty of even just making a transition into tech, is that I feel like in every other job that I had, and y'all can create my LinkedIn later, I've worked every job from the Disney store to J. Crew to children's birthday party entertainer to summer camp counselor, is when I was working as an actress, you would get the best that you could at singing or the best that you could at dancing or acting. And like there was a peak in which you became a professional or an expert. I even think about this with medical degrees. Like it was always sort of imprinted in my brain that you had a specialty and you stuck to that, and you're a foot doctor and you're a foot doctor the rest of your life. And what has been so cool about working in tech is I have already in my 5-year career worked in several different technology expertises, from Docker to error reporting to serverless. And it's so cool that there is no shortage of things to learn in this industry. And I can be, working on Azure stuff now, and in a year working on machine learning, and that's totally normal. So I love that you're keeping it open.
It's so fantastic for the ADHD brain, because it's like, oh, okay, cool. I've done this, and now I'm kind of bored. Let me go find something else that I can get really excited about and start playing with. So yeah, so like you mentioned that you're interested in React, and that's fantastic. So you can dig into React for a little while, and then after a year or two, you can decide, hey, you know what? I'm bored. Let me go look at Vue and start digging into Vue. And just keep playing. It's so fantastic.
Yeah.
So Ro, have you had to do any engineering interviews yet? Have you gotten to that point of your job search? Has it been a total just like, what is this moment? Because I know for me, going from the job interview that included, here's my resume, nice to meet you, whiteboarding, oh my goodness, what a new thing to add into your tool belt of things that you need to know as an engineer. How has that experience been for you?
That was a terrifying transition. I did not like it, just being totally upfront. I did not like going from, like, I would go into interviews and I knew I would get the job because I was so good at interviewing.
Right.
And then I went to tech, and I was like, oh God, here we go again. I just got so good at this, and now I got to start it over. But I always do very well the first interview because I've had probably like 10 at this point, maybe a bit more. And I always do very well in the first, but either the roles the people who usually reach out, they realize, oh, sorry, we're looking for someone more senior. And I'm like, well, okay. And then the other part is we either get to the technical part and it's a little bit too technical. And it's sometimes confusing because I'm told, well, it's okay if you're not super good at the technical part, as long as you could show them that you know some of the work, and like if you don't know it, like what you would do to kind of supplement that. And then I was, well, if they just really like you, and I was like, okay, cool, I could get people to like me, I guess. And yeah, it always seems to be like the part two where it just kind of stops because it's either just not the right fit in terms of like what I know so far, or it's just they had like so many other candidates to choose from. So it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
It's definitely a chicken and an egg battle because I remember, especially for my first role, going to these, I almost said auditions, going to these interviews, and they knew going in that I was a boot camp grad. And I would ask for feedback if I didn't get the role, and they say, we're just looking for someone with more experience. And I was like, you knew, like, you knew what was going on here. So to anybody out there like yourself or PJ who are either self-taught or boot camp grad trying to get their way into this industry, I always say we should have like Letterman jackets of honor or little badges of honor for folks, because it's hard to just even get through the front door. So hang in there. These interviews, even for experienced folks like myself, Christopher, who I see nodding along here, whiteboarding is not easy.
So here's the thing: is that I cheated the Kobayashi Maru because I think maybe once in my entire career I've actually had to do the whiteboard thing, just because I came up in a very different in a different path, and so I started as a trainer, and so that's how I've been able to sort of like prove my technical skills. And then every time I've gotten a job, it's been much more focused around, well, for the most part it's been more focused around around me being able to do education things. So I haven't had that tech part. And so what I always like to try and tell junior developers is, I'm going to be honest, like if you put me up there in a junior developer coding interview and ask me to start whiteboarding, like how do I write about bubble sort? I literally, true story, like this is not an exaggeration, I have no idea. And I have to give it to, there was one company that I interviewed at a very long time ago, and I did get the job, is their coding interview was, here's a little piece of paper with a handful of different tasks that, or different things that we want in this app, these different features, and then they just gave you a computer and they said, here's an hour, build something. And that was the way then that they decided whether or not you were a good developer. It's like, that's perfect, because you know what? That's what we all do. Like, yes, people whiteboard like different ideas, but nobody is writing code on a whiteboard.
Yeah. It's so true. And I think like I found myself, I'll share the video right now, but I was the same way. I was like, wait a second, I just had to learn how to code, and now you're going to make me do these crazy sorting methods that I didn't learn in my coding course. But here's my tip to anybody out there who's a senior programmer or a junior programmer. These videos of the Hungarian folk dances, I'm a visual learner, and in Hackbright, they showed us these videos that basically, I'll click through here, but it shows you how these sorts work with dancers, and all of the dancers have numbers on them, so you can kind of see, let's see, which one is this? This is bubble sort with Hungarian folk dance. And this was literally the only way. I would have to have this open and be playing leet code at the same time to like visualize what these structures look like. So for anybody out there who needs visual cues, Hungarian folk dances helps me out quite a bit for interviewing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And
it's one of those things where, gosh, I saw a tweet. One of my favorite tweets out there about whiteboarding is the man who invented Homebrew, which is used famously by everybody to download, different dependencies and whatnot. And I guess he had just interviewed at Apple, and it said, you literally build the tool that 100% of our developers use, but you can't invert a binary tree, so you can't get a job here. And I think that's such
yeah,
a way to describe, in this industry, just how these historically, done interview methods are not the best for everyone out there, especially neurodiverse
no.
folks like ourselves. So I wish they should have a warning before you sign up for a boot camp. Like, do you know what the interview process is for?
I really think they should, but also that could scare some people off because if I saw that, I'd probably run the other way.
It's very, very true. Well, we have about 5 minutes left on the show, so we have to do two very important things. One is we always talk on the show about what our guests' favorite theme park is and theme park attraction. So, not to put you on the spot, Ro, but do you have a favorite theme park and a favorite theme park attraction?
I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. Here's a see, this is why I tell people I'm not as cool as you might think my online persona makes you think I am. I get motion sick, so I can't really ride roller coasters, but I love them. And I haven't been to Universal and Disneyland for years, but like I love both those parks. But like the one that I go to in Toronto it's called Canada's Wonderland.
I've never heard of this. This is new to me.
I love Wonderland. Like I used to go all the time. And there's this one ride. I think it's called the Leviathan.
Okay. Okay.
Let me find it. Canada's Wonderland.
What is the theme of Canada's Wonderland? Is it Alice in Wonderland?
No, it's literally it's just sorry, one sec. I'm trying to find the actual roller coaster. It's just like a theme park, a big theme park, but I mean, you don't have to watch the video because it's probably some like really intense. Oh my god, this link is humongous.
We're gonna make everybody motion sick.
Yeah, but that huge link. That's just my Google search of Leviathan from Canada's Wonderland because like I went on that once, and actually, there is an amazing picture that is, I think, a product of the Leviathan that I'm going to pull up on Facebook right now.
This looks very intense for someone who does not ride roller coasters, Ro. Official point of view.
I do ride roller
Leviathan.
coasters. I just get very motion sick. Yes, if you need a POV of Leviathan, that is it. And you can ride the ride for free online with us right now.
This was early quarantine for me, was watching a lot of videos of Disney park rides from the point of view. So this is definitely up my alley, and I will be watching this in its entirety later.
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to find this picture because it is a really great picture, and you will see why in just a moment. But
I really feel like I should be leaning back, getting ready to go down a really big drop here in a second.
Is it still going? Oh, yeah. Like, it is humongous. It is very scary. Like, at one point, I was like, okay, wait, this is still going up? This is still going up.
Whoa, everybody put your hands up. Whoa. Wow, I really feel like I'm there.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's literally, like, you go, like, forward and down, and it's just, like, crazy. This is the point where I get motion sick right here.
One of my favorite things about playing Roller Coaster Tycoon is you start to spot like the specific things in the roller coaster then that you would get rewarded for inside of Roller Coaster Tycoon. So like going under part of it, or like having that little chute and so forth. Like all of those different things you now spot. Like we're all educated on roller coasters just because of that game.
This is honestly giving me, you took the words right out of my mouth, Christopher. It's giving me a hankering to play Roller Coaster Tycoon. And I think I see a fun project for Ro in the future. Like we got to make some kind of Roller Coaster Tycoon project together.
An 8-bit project. I love 8-bit project.
So, Ro, where can people find out about all the cool stuff that you're doing? I, of course, am going to bring up your website here in a second so people can check out the baby, Battle of the Babies stuff and all of that fun stuff. But where can people find you on the interwebs?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Ro the Coder. You can also find me on Instagram at Ro the Coder. You can find me at my LinkedIn, which would be, I believe you could do Ro the Coder and I will come up. And you can also find me on Twitch. Basically, any platform, you could probably find me at Ro the Coder except for GitHub. That's my first and last name. So that'd be Ro Paydar, which is spelled right there for you. So in case you are like, how do I spell that? Right there.
And you can check out all the links in our show notes. This has been such a lovely time, Ro. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Christopher, for coming in and being a wonderful Brandon stand-in. And let's see. Let's see. How should we end the show today? We don't have Brandon here today, so we can do it however we want. Should we play one Battle of the Babies to end out the show? I think so.
I see no other way.
Okay, I'm gonna battle some babies, and we'll close out the show. Who should help me select my fighter? We're gonna do. I think we gotta do Baby Yoda, right?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Baby Yoda is battling Groot, and we lost, but that's okay because any baby is winning my heart here.
Yes.
All right, y'all. That'll be our show for today. But everybody, hire Ro to be
All
your
of you.
future anything, baby battler, anything of that sort. And we will see you next week on 8 Bits. Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Bye.